Hey, it's Eldrick. So I play Dark Souls. Like, a lot of Dark Souls. Way too much Dark Souls. But I've never actually made any real decent Dark Souls content on this channel. So I thought I'd start with a good old boss ranking because everybody and their mother has done it. I'm not going to be ranking them based on anything other than my personal preference, just how much I like the boss. So with that, let's get started. Bed of Chaos. Dark Souls is not a platformer. This is a platformer boss. What the fuck, Miyazaki? You literally only have to hit 3 things in the fight. Left, right, and center. This boss knows how shitty it is too, because this boss actually saves your progress. So when you inevitably fail that jump and have to run all the way back, you can get slapped before you make it. I really feel if they had more development time, this could have been one hell of a boss. I mean, look at it. It's beautiful! Stray Demon. Stray Demon is the annoying min-maxer of the demon family who's apparently never heard of the word variety. He AoEs, butt slams, and AoEs. He does have other moves, but for you to see them, it'd have to be like a 10-minute fight. It's not going to be a 10-minute fight. Is it? Is it? Who the fuck gave this wide load 5.2 thousand health and a resistance to physical? Yes, he can come here anytime, but the Red Iron Ring is here, and that's super valuable for Lower Blighttown. This fight is boring, long, and a clone of a previous boss. It earns this low place. Capra Demon. Fuck you and the 2 dogs you rode in, you 4-eyed horny motherfucker. I've been trapped in crowded subway stations less cramped than this boss arena. There's so little space to move that this boss arena might actually be affordable in New York's housing market. Claustrophobia was the name your mother chose for you at birth, and your dogs need some goddamn air conditioning. You can use the stairs on the left to separate Capra from his dogs. Once the dogs go down, this is a pretty simple fight. The Jersey Devil uses 2 big-ass cleavers and swings them with well-translated moves. I love the small stumble he does at the end of a second swing sometimes. The animations really lend to those swords being super heavy. As long as you can survive the entrance and kill the dogs, this goat demon isn't too bad a fight. Ceaseless Discharge. Guardian of his sister's grave, the only son of the Witch of Izalith, and the first demon. He got the name Ceaseless Discharge. That sounds like a name that someone earns by eating a beefy 5-layer burrito and then inhaling a pack of Tic Tacs while guzzling a bottle of Ipecac and Diet Coke. This demon's story is solidly depressing, and the fight is similarly so. If you actually fight him, he'll mostly just attempt to slap you with his spider arm, you dodge, and then slap him in response. But if you loot the grave and then run, he'll lunge after you and fall off a cliff, with a little help, of course. Pinwheel. Why is Pinwheel here? Lore-wise, like, I know why Pinwheel is here, but why is Pinwheel here? It's at the bottom of the fucking bone chimney. Nobody's gonna come down here with an unupgraded weapon. You can't even spawn clones frequently enough to be overwhelming. Not that it'd matter, you'll likely kill the necromancer before he can even teleport away. Even the level design assumes Pinwheel is stronger. There's a summon above the skeleton wheels for paladin. Just look at this. This man belongs in the asylum before you get your weapons. I think Pinwheel's a pathetic excuse for a boss. The Asylum Demon.
Put a whole bag of jelly beans up my ass.
What in the Kentucky Fried Fuck is that? You know, honestly, I'm pretty fond of this blubbery motherfucker from a design standpoint. While not exactly the most handsome boss, he is relatively threatening to a first-timer, and is one of the only bosses in the Soul series that actually teaches you to back off. That said, you can kill him before you actually get your equipment, and if you do, he drops his weapon, which is a nice touch. If you follow the usual progression, it leads to a plunging attack. The way it punishes hesitation is hilarious. Gaping Dragon. Before we get started, kill this guy first. Oh, it's a cute little crocodile. That is not a crocodile. If you feel like fighting a train, this is the boss for you. Ribtooth's most common move is a charge that has a damaging hitbox over its entire body. You can hit this entire body, but you do a little bit more damage to the head, which is hittable on the slam and charge. This boss is disgusting. Not gonna lie. But on the bright side, cutting its tail off gives the Dragon King Great Axe. I really hope this isn't the King of Dragons, because Ew. The axe is definitely worth getting for strength builds because this thing has an amazing AoE. Also, you can summon Solaire, and dragons don't like lightning. Demon Fire Sage. Hope you weren't waiting for Flame Lurker to be behind the big golden fog wall of Izalith, because it's just another fucking Asylum Demon. Yay. You know, I do get that Izalith was rushed, and the fire on the Sage is pretty good, but that said, it's still a clone boss. It even uses the same OST as the Asylum Demon. The boss room also gets pretty annoying with all the roots growing around it. It sometimes stops you from dodging things. The Demon Fire Sage could easily be cool if it were literally anything different, but it just had to be another fat ass. Stop making me fight Asylum Demons. The Centipede Demon. I usually get through this fight without too much pain, but god damn! If it isn't a camera fuckfest to fight in the small space you're given. Even the game has a hard time with it. There are multiple skips around this boy's grab attack, and he can just straight up fall off some places in the arena. He drops the orange charred pring. Orange charred pring, wow. He drops the orange charred ring, which lets you progress through the level, and if you cut part of it off, then kill that part because it's still alive, you can get the ring mid-fight, which makes it a lot more manageable. You can also summon Solaire here, and that definitely can help if he doesn't kill himself on the lava. You know, Centipede Demon's pretty okay. Taurus Demon. This is a well-structured fight. Entering the boss arena puts you on a long bridge with a beautiful view to the left, but spend long enough looking at it and you'll end up with an arrow in your shoulder. The two archers don't pose much of a threat, but if you charge into the fight neglecting caution, they can actually be a real issue. They're a solid way to direct the player to a position above the Taurus Demon, giving you an opportunity to land a plunging attack or fighting him in a less tight space. If you can kite the muscly Minotaur back a bit, then you can actually loop plunging attacks to kill him. Fighting him directly is straightforward, and the animation for blocking a hit is just delightful. The game is also kind enough to play some golden pine resin in the previous area for more thorough players, which I think is nice, especially if someone is having a hard time with Taurus. Moonlight Butterfly. I can't hit that. This boss is a bit of an annoyance to melee players and a cakewalk for mages. If you're a melee player, you're restricted to a few options. You can wait for it to rest, pull out a bow, huck some knives, or even bombs at it. Or you could go downstairs, break some bushes, and summon a mage with impeccable fashion sense who will just do the fight for you. Honestly, where I feel this boss excels is in atmosphere. The air looks cool, the plants are lush, and the music is calm. The butterfly would make it even more calm if it weren't trying to vaporize you with space lasers. 4 kings. The flower boys are either easy or a massive pain in the ass. It's a DPS check, and if you don't deal enough, then more than one king will spawn on top of you, and that can present several problems. For some reason, the king's swords don't deal their full magic damage if you're right in the king's face. I think it's implying that the hilt is hitting you, but I think that's a bug that's marked as a feature. More than 4 kings can spawn, revealing that the 4 kings are actually just one dude who has 7 alternate Reddit accounts and will downvote you to hell for disrespecting their waifu Koth. I would also like to bring up the grab attack. Like, what the fuck, man? The 4 kings basically have the same story as the Nazgul, but with life hunt rather than rings. If you kill them before meeting Frampt, you can meet with Koth and become a Dark Wraith yourself. Ultimately, I think the 4 kings are a pretty good wall to put in front of the Red Eye Orb. Grave Lord Nito. So there are 2 ways to get down there. 1, you place the Lord Vessel and get to the bottom of Tomb of Giants, or 2, you hop at a coffin. You can join his covenant in the coffin route, and he'll just straight up give you his sword, which is nice of him. If you didn't have to kill Nito, I'm pretty sure he'd be a pretty chill dude to hang out with. There are a bunch of skeletons here which can be disposed of with a divine weapon, and mostly just serve as distraction. Nito himself stabs you with his big ol' sword sometimes and explodes. Can't really do a ton about you being underneath him, and once the initial fall damage and skeletons are taken care of, it's a pretty easy fight. I gotta say though, his design's pretty fucking neato. Yes, I made that pun, and no, I'm not sorry. Iron Golem. This is a magnificent bastard. Look at him. A giant fuck you metal man that's gonna smash you with an axe. Or his fist, because, you know, he's made of iron. If you go directly into the fight, you'll find that Donkey Kong wants to make sure that the golem's feet are warm, whether you want to be involved or not. Hostess buns. I really love the golem's animations. They really make the golem feel imposing. The golem boasts some monstrous defense, but this is actually fairly balanced by the golem not having a sense of balance. But there are legends of a man far stronger than those before him. A man so powerful he could draw upon Miyazaki's strength. Tarkus just demolishes the Iron Golem with ease. It's beautiful. Everybody loves Tarkus. Sadly, this is the only time you get to summon him in the game, so enjoy it. Seath the Scaleless. The more complex sorcery gets, the more crazy it makes anybody but the chosen undead. Seath is an ancient dragon without scales, thus having no immortality. This made him seek immortality via sorcery, which he has achieved with this glowy crystal. Now, it's debatable whether Seath was always crazy or the sorceries led him to madness, but the archives are home to a myriad of his own experiments. He probably even had plans for the player had they not escaped. Seath's actual fight is pretty straightforward. He shoots a bunch of lasers everywhere that create curse crystals on the floor. He also does an big slappy. If you cut off his tail, you get the legendary Moonlight Greatsword, but god damn, it's a pain in the ass to get behind him. As weird as Seath is, I actually really like his design. Quailag. Quailag is a decent boss with a good setup. You make it to the bottom of Blighttown and fight your way through the swamp to a massive spider's den. The few den inhabitants are, unsettling. She mostly fights by vomiting lava and swinging a flaming sword, which, I must say, makes a great sound. The way this boss fights isn't much of a problem, but her HP pool is definitely a jump from what you've faced up until this point. The broadsword in this clip is +8. Fortunately, this can be oh so handily remedied by gently inserting your sword into a local homeless person and resurrecting them to fight for you. Mildred does good damage, but she's incredibly stupid. This fight does make me wonder though, aren't webs flammable? Priscilla.
Thou must returneth whence thou came. This land is peaceful, its inhabitants kind, but thou dost not belong.
Its inhabitants kind? Its inhabitants kind. The fuck do you mean? There are people on spikes out here, and I guarantee you can hear this happening. Does this look kind to you? Priscilla is a non-hostile NPC that can be stabbed into being a boss. Like all dragons, her tail can be cut off to give a dagger, but unlike all dragons, she turns invisible for the majority of the fight. Priscilla has very high one-shot capability if you don't have decent bleed resistance. She has a special power called Life Hunt that nobody else has, and apparently gods were spooked about, so she got locked in a painting. Interestingly, her file name is actually Heroine, so she might have had a lot more story significance in earlier phases of development. Sif. Okay. I can do this. I can do this. Why must it be this way? I just need your ring! The story of Sif goes a bit longer than Artorias, seeing as Sif actually survives. After Sif gets out of the abyss, she does a Clifford and grows to the size of a small building. You know, as you do. She guards Artorias' grave from anyone looking to get to the abyss, including you, whether she knows you or not. My favorite detail is the spin both Sif and Artorias do with the sword. Although this fight will never fail to make me sad, and is probably the reason I haven't played Dark Souls 1 as much as I have played the other two. I don't wanna fight Sif. Sif's too cute. Gwendolin. Gwendolin is a very easy boss to miss. There are two ways to access them. One is killing Guinevere, and the other is finding the Dark Moon Seance ring in the Bone Chimney. Wearing the ring, or darkening Anorlando, will open this big old statue into a covenant. Or a boss room, if you walk through the fog. Gwendolin isn't a threat at close range, so they make an infinite hallway for you to fight in, except it's not actually infinite. In this clip I decided to see how long it'd take to get to the end of the hall, and it took about 6 minutes. If you end up getting to the very end of the hallway, Gwendolin will stop teleporting, allowing you to strafe most of their attacks pretty easily. Meaning if you get to the end, you can just kinda chill. Just hang out with Gwendolin. From what I know, Gwendolin has 4 attacks. Big magic, little magic, pew, and run away. Gwendolin does have some pretty ridiculous illusion magic in the lore though. He is the reason the entirety of Anorlando is still bright, and Guinevere isn't even real. Gwendolin made that, and I think that's pretty impressive, not gonna lie. The Gargoyles. I think this is Dark Souls' first Welcome to Dark Souls boss. Not only does it start with a beautifully menacing cutscene, but it's also the first fight to introduce a second boss. The first Gargoyle is the stronger of the two, having no clear injuries or restrictions, until you fucking cut its tail off. Not only can you actually use the tail as a weapon, but this takes away a lot of the Gargoyle's rear defense, and a couple annoying spinny moves. Once the first one gets down to about half health, the second one drops down, and immediately you can tell it's not doing quite as hot as the other one. I take it back, that's a lot of fire. While it might seem a little bit unfair for a 2-on-1 this early on in the game, this is also the first opportunity you get to summon our beautifully incandescent boy Solaire. And this guy, I guess... Fuck you, Lautrec. Dark Souls 1 actually gives summons decent stats, so Solaire puts up one hell of a fight and his lightning peels them apart. Sanctuary Guardian. I think this is the coolest interpretation of a Manticore that I've seen in general, and that's kind of impressive considering it's in a game and not like a piece of art. This fight does present something that's not expanded on frequently in Souls, and that is lightning and water. If you don't know, if lightning touches water in these games, it releases a small AoE of extra damage. Now you can very clearly see why this might present a problem for the player. The Manticore's tail is poisonous, which is another hazard in the fight, but fortunately you can cut off the tail for a whip. I think disabling the poisonous attacks is way more valuable than that whip, though. My usual strategy is to hunker down in some beefy armor and go through most of the attacks. Once you beat him, you can return later, and there will be 2 of them here. These 2 suck. That said, cool boss. I like it. Manus. This is a strength mage. How many times have you seen strength mages? This man's catalyst is so chunky it has incredible bonking power, and he's gonna use it. If you infused a gorilla with cocaine and rage, I imagine it would fight similarly to Manus, sans the huge spells. I don't know, maybe gorillas can cast dark magic. Earlier in the level, you can find a silver pendant hidden behind a wall that requires a light of some form to dissipate. Said pendant is kind of like a big version of the Force Miracle that can be used to deflect Manus' spells. Additionally, if you go back in the level a bit, you can rescue Seth from some humanity deep in a cave, and Seth can actually be summoned to help with the fight. The actual fight is pretty difficult. Manus is speed. Manus' physical design is just... wow. It's glorious and horrifying, and I hate it, and I love it. A+ Dark Souls right here. Calamite. Every Souls game needs a big fuck you dragon, and this is the big fuck you dragon of Dark Souls 1.
Even mighty Anor dared not provoke his ire.
You know, I would also be concerned if a dragon could make me take double damage. I mean, dragons do enough damage on their own. You can't even really fight Calamite when you first encounter him. Well, I mean, you can, but that's time, arrows, and you don't get any souls if you actually succeed. You do get extra dialogue from Goff.
Wondrously played. Lord Wind's blessing upon thee.
If you do it the normal way, Goff will ground Calamite for you to fight him in an awesome cutscene. This man's blind and he shot a dragon down. You can cut off Calamite's tail for his sword with an awesome AoE. Which, honestly, I feel like this AoE should be on Gwen's sword. Calamite moves fast, hits hard, and fights like a dragon. It's definitely not an easy fight, and the ring you're rewarded with is, useful? Ornstein and Smo. All of Orlando has big dick energy, but these two both have statues of themselves at the entrance, and Ornstein has a room full of drakeheads. Think they might be compensating. In terms of the actual fight, Pikachu stabs and Smo slams. These two complement each other's fighting style pretty well. If you only had to fight one of them, it would be perfectly manageable, but both at the same time results in getting slapped off screen a lot. When one of them goes down, the other gets stronger, and the cutscenes speak well for each character. When Smo goes down, Ornstein places his hand on Smo and seems to get a little choked up over the death of his friend. Then he stabs you. Smo, on the other hand, he doesn't give a shit. He's pretty much the same, but with more butt slams. This fight is undoubtedly a pretty big skill check. Fortunately, you'll have a jolly cooperator if you're willing to kill the sentinels outside. Once the lair latches on to either rnstein or Smo, it becomes a significantly easier first phase. I like both of the phase 2s, but unless you're specifically going to use Smo's hammer, always kill Smo first. Ornstein gives the Leo ring, and that's worth it. Knight Artorias. Potentially Dark Souls' most legendary warrior, barring maybe Solaire. His sword has made an appearance in all 3 games. His arm is shattered, his shield's gone, armor tainted by the abyss, and he's definitely not going to be having any more friendly conversations. That said, he's still got a +8 proficiency in acrobatics, and he will be using that. I mean, yes, I'm dead, but it's cool. At some point in the fight, he'll try and buff himself, and if he succeeds, he'll deal more damage as well as trail some more goop behind him. You can interrupt it either by whacking him a bunch or hitting him in the head with a physical projectile. I think almost all NPCs in Ulasil have something to say about Artorias.
Did you happen across Knight Artorias, the legendary abyss walker from the old tales? Well, if you haven't, it's just as well. He's a colorless sort, if you ask me.
Thou must be the one who freed Artorias. An old friend he was.
He was a dear friend.
And his death has one hell of a sound. I love just about every part of this fight. Like, you can even see his arm flopping the wrong way occasionally. This fight tells almost its whole story in just the fight alone, and that's pretty impressive for a Dark Souls boss. I definitely consider this to be one of the better bosses in Dark Souls in general. Gwyn. Finally, the Lord Vessel has been sated. It opens a reality-warping door to the first flame. The remains of Gwyn's knights remain among the ashes leading to where the flame was first linked. Within lies the fallen Lord of Sunlight himself, Gwyn. There's not much left of the legendary Lord of Sunlight that tore down the dragons. Now all that remains is a hollow with a few sparks of flame left in him, hence the title Lord of Cinder. This boss doesn't present a challenge to long-time players. It's well known that Gwyn can be parried repeatedly, although I personally always draw out this fight. The music, the design, the lead-up, the story, the lore, it all pulls on emotional strings deep enough that anyone can watch this fight and know that it is the last fight of the game. The music is beautiful and climactic, but deeply somber at the same time. Dark Souls is epic, beautiful, horrifying, grotesque, jolly, and depressing. But Gwyn's story is what made all of it happen. Gwyn caused the curse, and Gwyn brought the Age of Fire. He started it all so that you could end it. This is one of my favorite bosses in any game ever, and he deserves this place on the list. And that is my ranking. I hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to see me rank all the Dark Souls 2 bosses, then let me know. Otherwise, I found a Vagrant while I was playing, so that's pretty cool. I'm gonna just leave you with the Vagrant. And I'll go get a drink. Be right back. Have a good day.